Hey guys, welcome to another one of our liquid art tutorials. Today we're going to be painting this Foxy painting. It's all in acrylic and designed for beginners, so grab your stuff. So guys, remember, all of our paintings are designed for beginners. They're all going to be step by step, so please just pop this video on pause at any point and just paint at your own speed. So I hope you got a drink in your hand and just enjoy this painting. So here's our setup for today. We've got our canvas board here in the middle. We'll talk about it a little bit more later where it's got the squares on it. You'll also need your paintbrushes. We've got a big, a medium and a small. And then we've got our palette over here. It's covered in cling film for easy cleaning with the acrylic colours on it: black, white, red, yellow and blue. We're going to mix all of our colours today. We've then got a pencil and a rubber here for our drawing. And then we've got our water and our kitchen towel. So you can see on this board here that I've divided it into squares. So we've got 4 going up and then we've got 3 going across. So we're going to draw it out like this. If you've got a square canvas or anything like that, just make sure that we're working on these. And I just drew them on with a pencil and a ruler, and you just got to make sure that your squares are all exactly the same size. They can't be wider or taller or anything like that. They need to be the exact same size, and we're going to draw it to this reference photo here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the grid technique to get our composition right. I think this is the perfect technique to use it. I use it all the time in my own artwork, so this is going to work really well for this. Now how it works is you start in one square, and you're just going to draw out matching square by square. Rather than doing a whole drawing, you break it all the way down. So for this bit, we're just doing the end of the tail and where it meets along the body, using the squares to mark out and match it up. And then we're going to do the same here around the back of the body. And also with this part, which is going to be the white part of the tail. So you're just using these squares to point out exactly where it's going to be. So notice I started from the dot of this square and I've just brought it round to show the back of the body. And now for this next bit, we're just going to mark out, it's going to be the kind of the white part of the chest where it meets the body. We're just doing this little bit here. And we're then going to cross it over to show where the bottom of the jawline is for our fox. And now this part, we're just going to go along this side of the fox. So again, you can just mark out where it meets these parts of the squares and match up with this reference photo that we've got here. So for this bit, we're just doing around kind of the jawline of our fox. And now we're going to work on the face. So this is where the nose is. So this point here where the grids cross over is where our nose of our fox is going to meet. And then we're going to start doing it around the head. So just remember, you don't want to have straight lines too much with this. You want to round them out a little bit as well. And also you don't want to press too hard. We don't want really nasty thick lines or anything as we draw our fox. So good, so now we've got the ideas around where the ears are. Now we're just going to add a few little bits of detail in here. So we've got the idea of where the inside of the ear is. And just a few little bits here just to mark out where exactly the ear is away from the head. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mark out where the eye is. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to divide this square up one more. So we're going to go mark it halfway. You could use a ruler if you want, but you really won't need one. And then halfway across as well. So just imagine there's an X between that, and we're going to draw our eye around the center of that X shape. So nice and rounded, and then I'm just doing a little bit of an eyelid, and then I'm going to do the rest of the fox's mouth. And then we're going to do the nose, so it's kind of like a rounded out triangle here. And now we're just going to do a few tiny little bits, a few marks around the face, just so we've got a rough idea of where things are going to be when we start painting. Good, so now we've got our composition all done together. The next thing you're going to do is use your rubber to get rid of those grid lines. So now we've got our composition all together, the next bit we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the guidelines. So just use your rubber, and I just want you to rub away all of these lines. This is so that when we start painting, we don't see them underneath the paint. So just rub them across here, and then just make sure you brush away any of the bits that come off your eraser. Now just brush away all of these erasings and also wipe them away from the area that we're going to paint. This is so that we don't get them caught up in the paint and into our painting or anything like that. So now we're going to start painting. So we can start by doing our background. So take your big brush with me, give it a really good wash, and then dab off that excess water. Now the colour that I'm going to do the background, you can change this if you want. I'm going to do a nice light blue for this one. The reason I'm using blue is because orange and blue are opposite each other on the colour wheel, and I thought they'd work really well together. So just take some white and some blue and mix it together here, and I just want you to brush the background colour in. Bring it all the way to the edges of our fox. Don't worry if you go over the lines too much or anything like that, we'll paint it over later, but I just want you to bring that colour all the way to the edges for me now. So like I said, you can use a different colour if you want. I would just avoid using a red or a yellow or an orange or a black. They're the ones I would avoid using, but you guys can use any colour that you like. So a few little tips here when painting. If you find that as you're painting that the paint just isn't moving very much, you just need a little bit of water, just added to it a little bit more, and it just helps the paint move about. If you find that it's too runny, you need to just dry off your brush a little bit and just add a little bit more paint to it so that it moves and it doesn't run so much. Good, so now we've got the background a nice solid colour. Wash your paintbrush for me, and now you're going to take some white here, and we're just going to do the white part of our fox. So we're going to bring this around kind of underneath the face, and then we're going to do the chest area, and we're also going to build it up on the tail as well. The reason we're adding the white in now is so that later on we can add it again if we want to. Actually, it works really well as this section here. So I'm just doing the tail bit again here, just so we've got this nice white area now. So in a second, what we're going to do is we're going to wash our brush, and we're going to go on to start making some of the orange. To make orange, we're going to use red and yellow. So we're just going to mix it here on our palette together. So I'm just adding a little bit more yellow into our orange colour. We want a little bit more of a yellowy orange. And then I'm going to take a tiny bit of white, and I'm just going to mix it into this part here, just to make a little bit of a lighter orange and a little bit more opaque is what the white paint does. So we're just going to dab it around this section here. So this is going to be the back of our fox and its tail. So we're just going to colour this section in. And notice I'm using a dabbing motion. This works really well for the fur, rather than using kind of a block motion or filling it in completely with straight lines. So now for this next bit, I'm just adding some yellow straight into that orange colour. Again, I'm using that dabbing motion just to get all these different textures and bring different oranges out. So I'm just, again, using that dabbing motion. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm bringing it right up to this white section that we painted earlier. And also, this is a line which divides the fox's tail from its body. I want you to leave it white for now. This is a line we drew on earlier, but obviously covering up with paint, we'll lose where it is. So I'm just going to leave it white for now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my paintbrush a really good wash, and I'm going to take some white paint. And I'm just going to, again, do that dabbing motion across the body here. Just dabbing it on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give this paintbrush a really good wash, put it to the side, and I'm going to take my medium paintbrush. So I haven't washed this paintbrush. I'm just going to take it here, and I'm just going to make these kind of swirl motions to blend these colours together. So all it's doing is blending that white into the orange just to make it a little bit lighter, and I'm just using this little circular motion to do that. Good, so now we've built up some texture here. I'm taking now the paint that's already on my brush, and I'm just going to dab it across the fox's face. So it's a really nice light orange, and we're just going to brush it across his face, and we don't want to cover up any of the eye marks or anything like the nose. So we're just bringing this over here, and then we can work from that later on. So now I'm just bringing it around the eye, just to build up this really nice area around his face. And then across the back of the ear as well. Just making sure I don't cover up the white area that we put on earlier. So now I've given my paintbrush a really good wash, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of our red that we used earlier. I'm just adding a tiny bit of blue into it. It kind of makes a purpley colour. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of yellow as well to make a brown. Now we want this to be more of an orangey brown than anything, so the primary colours mixed together makes a brown colour. And we're just going to dab this along here. It's going to be kind of the shadow below our fox's head. We're just going to dab a little bit where the tail meets the body. Again, I haven't used masses of it. You don't want to colour this whole area in. You just want to do this bit for now. And then we're going to do the bottom of around where the fox's tail is here. So this is really rough for now. Give it a really good wash for me with your paintbrush. And I'm just going to do a tiny bit around here. Again, you don't want to cover all of this fox's face. You don't want to cover it all up. So we're just doing a few little bits around here. It's just kind of adding a little bit more depth to our fox's features. So now you're just going to blend it together. I've used a nice clean brush and I'm just brushing between the two paint colours. And this is what's going to help us blend it all together. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take some black and some white and mix it together to make a nice light grey. And what we're going to do with this, we're just going to brush a little bit of detail around here to show underneath the chin on that white section here. So again, I've just used a little bit of grey. You don't want to cover it completely. And what we're going to do is we're going to add white to this in a second to lighten it even more. So just doing it around the fox's mouth as well. Really good wash with that paintbrush. And now we're going to use our smallest paintbrush and take some white and we're going to brush it over that grey that we already used. So what this is going to do is going to mix a lighter grey here on our canvas. So we're just brushing it in and using the smaller brush as well. It makes it look a little bit more like fur. So we're just brushing this around this face section here. Remember, we're going to come in with some black later anyway, just to draw out the jaw and things like that. And then we're going to do the exact same here, but with the neck of our fox. So now for this next bit, we're just going to do a tiny bit of work on the eye. So what I'm going to do for this bit is I'm going to take some of that brownie colour that we used earlier and I'm just going to do a little bit of a circular shape, leaving a tiny bit of white in the centre for where our eye is. And then up here with our ears, we're just using a little bit of a light orange. And we're just going to paint the ends of our ear. So this is going to be the inside part of our ear. We're just painting it nice and in this bright orange colour. And on the end of our nose as well. I'm just adding a tiny little bit of that light colour as well to the end of our fox's tail. And it's just going to show a few more bits of the fur in that tail here. So now with our smallest brush, we're going to take a little bit of black and we're going to paint the end of our fox's ear here. And then in the inside of this ear as well. And we're just going to do kind of an outline a little bit here on the edge of the ear as well. So it's very loose, it's not kind of straight lines or anything like that, just using a little kind of etching motion. And now what we're going to do is we're going to draw around the eye. So we're doing the top of it first, kind of like an eyeliner, and then this below section here as well. And then I've just done a little dot in the middle, so I've kept that white little bit that we had earlier. You can add this in later, but you're just leaving a nice little white gap. And now I'm drawing the smile onto our fox as well. I'm bringing it around the edge to do his nose. And I'm just going to add a few little bits here, just with that black, just on the end of my brush. It's just to build a bit of a sharper shadow. And in between the tail and the body here as well. So now I'm just going to use a little bit of white just to brighten that part of the eye up. And just brighten this part of the nose up as well. So now you can use this white bit if you want to, if not you can leave it. But this is just to brighten this up a little bit. So I've just taken a really nice light yellow and I'm just brushing across the top of the face here. Then I'm going to add a little bit more orange onto it as well. It's just stopping this being so white. So now for this last little section here, what we're going to do is we're going to make a little bit more of an orange. So I'm just going to take a bit of a runnier orange here with my smallest paintbrush. And what we're going to do is our splatter technique. So hold that in your left hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to tap using my right hand with a dry brush. So I'm just holding the brush end of it and we're just going to tap it just so the paint nicely splatters off. And we're just going to do this mainly around the background of our fox painting. So this is a total added extra if you guys want to. I thought it made a really nice feel to this painting as well. So I'm just doing this with the orange and then I'm going to do it with some white in a second. So if your water is really mucky like mine, you might want to change it, otherwise it might go a little bit dark. So I'm just adding a little bit of water to that white. Make it nice and runny. And then again, I'm going to hold my other brush and I'm just going to tap it so that this white colour splatters off. So guys, once you've done that, we are done. So thank you guys so much for painting along with us today. If you did this painting, please show us what you painted. We'd love to see them and we'd love to share them as well. So thank you guys so much. Please share this video and subscribe and like it. And yeah, we hope to see you again soon. If you have any painting idea suggestions for us, please drop them in the comments below.